Here we are, the final part of using a different skill for every act with every character. I hope everyone is still here. And for the newcomers, don't worry, I write every script as if it is from the start. You might think I strangely have a bunch of items. That's just because I found those on earlier runs. Now, every skill in my part of the world means sticking to the rules and being as straight as a U-turn, which means that we will be doing a bunch of calling things skills that aren't actually skills, because the Paladin doesn't have enough of them. The Paladin has 12 to be exact, meaning that I will need to come up with 3 other things and pretend they are skills. So how are we starting off the final part of the run? Well, in Act 1, normal, with a Paladin. And for the starting skill this time around, we are going with Sacrifice. Sacrifice has you hitting a monster just a bit harder than usual at the cost of some life. To hit even harder, I'm going with the Might aura as well, cause I might as well, pun fully intended of course. For a low level shared stash run, there is only one true way to go if you want to keep it stylish, and that is with the Saigon set. So once I hit my 60 strength in the underground rite of passage, it is time to don the horned white knight armor. For my weapon, I'm going with something a bit more spicy than usual. There aren't a lot of weapons in the game that get you 46 damage on level 9. Save-Ups Cudgel does get to make that claim though, thanks to its maximum damage per level. With this obscene amount of damage, I can just walk up to anything in Act 1 and clobber it in the face like a baby seal. Speaking about sealing some deals, Andariel is looking mighty tender tonight. Wait, no, never mind, that's my imagination. She's dead and on fire. For Act 2, we are going to be calling fulminating potions a skill, because otherwise I'm not making it to the 15 I need. The 5 to 15 damage these do is lacking. Even in Act 2, we are now dealing a third of the damage we just used to deal seconds ago. Now I did root this early on to be done with it, and even with this little damage Act 2 shouldn't be much of a problem. In a coincidence that I find very fitting, I end up finding what might be the best anti-fire boots in the entire game in Hotspurs. Not only do these sport life and 45% fire resistance, they also have 15% to maximum fire resist. I'm not going to wear them or anything, but it is crazy just how powerful these level 5 boots are. The Maggot Lair, while tedious, is just a matter of throwing one potion at a time and making our way through slow and steady. Throughout the Arcane Sanctuary, things went much smoother. With everything clumping up nicely, the potions even started to feel like a semi-real thing. No worries though. Juriel was very easily able to get rid of that feeling of trust in my setup again. Now over the course of so many runs, you just naturally end up with much stronger gear than usual. Because of that, Jamali was able to tank the demon the entire fight. Which honestly is kind of nuts. Hats off to Jamali for that one. And with the demon deep diving into death, we get to move forwards to Act 3. There was a reason I said I was counting fulminating potions as a skill, because that means I get to use the obviously totally a skill strangling gas potions. And yes, I know you can already see the plan for the next act, just work with me here. The Paladin is a man of focus and commitment, so he just doesn't need to have a lot of skills. The few he has are just broken, although I did manage to unbreak a few of them, but that's for later in the video. My dyslexic little Paladin is now dealing 24 to 25 damage, making me miss the Sivurp's Cudgel dearly. It would have been so good right about now. In the mighty jungle, a set amulet ends up dropping from some Cloudstalkers. This turns out to be the Angelic Wings, which now that I think about it would have been very cool if it would actually give you wings behind your character. Anyway, if you're playing a melee character and are having attack rating problems, wear this amulet with the ring and all your problems will be solved. I love how a lot of very early game items like this and the Hotspurs we found earlier are great choices for the late game as well. Even though I was talking about how bad the damage is on the potions, they do have a great area of effect, so as long as you can make things run into them, the damage still scales very well. For Act 3 normal, if anyone out there wants to do this all the way up to hell, please go ahead, but it won't be me. The parade of fantastic items that you can find early continues in the Flayer dungeon level 3, when the Witch Doctor drops a unique amulet. This turns out to be a Nokozan. Now it's named a relic, but this thing definitely stuck with the times, cause there is a ridiculous 50 fire resist on this thing, and even an addition 10% maximum to fire resist. Between this and the Hotspurs, this run isn't fire at all, cause we can resist all of it. There is also 20% faster hit recovery on here. Seriously, for a level 10 amulet, this thing is insane. Finding all of these makes me want to try a run with an item level cap of some sort. I don't know what I would put it at. 15? 20? I'm now even wondering if there is an item setup that works at such a low level that would clear the Ubers. You would probably have to go to at least 21 on that for odd runes. if it wasn't very obvious yet. I'm just wondering these things out loud because gameplay wise there isn't a lot going on. I throw a potion, wait a few seconds, health bars go to 0 and quests move on towards the next act. Act 4 has us using the wonderful skill called Exploding Potion, and yes, just like the others, this is now a skill for story purposes. This is the last of the 6 potions that I am conveniently calling skills for the sake of even getting to enough of those. Cause if you can't solve a problem, just bend the rules into a horseshoe and pretend it's normal. You can tell this is intended to be used around this part of the game. They unlock at level 24 and are pretty impressive for what they are trying to do. Gameplay wise, it's still just throwing a bottle at a demon, but the damage is good. Keep in mind, that is good for Act 4 normal, not good. I still can't wait to be done with these. The only problem I encountered during this act was the Grand Vizier of Chaos, who is fire immune, and also dead thanks to Jamali. Not mirroring real life, I ended up getting lucky with the Venom Lords. I rolled the map where there is a bit of a mode situation going on between them and me, allowing me to just throw pots at them, so I cheesed them as hard as they would let me. The Infector of Souls ended up dropping a unique amulet as well. This turned out to be the Eye of Etlich, a +1 skill amulet that has cold damage and life leech on there as well. If you're a melee build, this is your go-to early game amulet. It might sound weird, but the Diablo fight itself wasn't too bad at all. I have range and reasonable damage. With those two combined, all it took was for me to dodge the attacks like usual and to just keep throwing until the demon tasted defeat. I know I like to randomly shit on things cause it's funny, but this turned out to be actually good. And now it is time for the best part of the run. From here on out, we won't have to pretend potions are skills anymore, and we'll be using actual skills instead. For Act 5 I decided to go with Zeal. The 5th act of the game is about grinding for levels and making sure things are prepared to get into Nightmare, so you'll want to be using one of the good skills here. Zeal has you smashing a bunch of pumpkins in quick succession. It's like the Druid's Fury or the Amazon's Vent, but, well, good, because you get to do the thing and play a Paladin. Working my way through the act I kill Shank for no actual reason. It's not like I'm using my socket quests or anything, but you know how it is. It's a giant demon. There is a dopamine spike. He's literally on the way there. Might as well. One thing I did decide to go out of my way for is the Anya quest. So in the Frozen River I dealt with Frozenstein and saved my resistances. For the rest of the act the only dangerous fight was with Lister and the Minions of Destruction. They always just pack a huge punch and this time was no different. Bale dropped a unique Shamshir. Now normally this would be an amazing weapon for the Holy Fire part of this run. Thanks to its +3 to fire skills, ignore target's defense and added damage. I might have just found every single item in the game that increases your maximum fire resistance this run. But I have a different plan that I'll show later. Halfway through grinding I realized I should have been using a steel driver all along, so I switched to that before heading into Nightmare. On our second run at the merry-go-round, that is the 3 difficulties of this game, we take charge. This is the Paladin's get around the world quick skill. Well, one of 2 that is. The Paladin gets 2 after all, not like a Necromancer or an Amazon could have used some extra speed. Better to hoard all of it for yourself. Anyway, charge is a skill that has you running straight into the danger. With the power of just a single click, you can just casually suicide yourself into a group of monsters. Do you think that sounds like a great plan? No? Well, neither do I. But here we are, so let's do this. The hardest part of controlling charge is that it just completely catapults you into anything you click on. Be it accidental or not. This skill has you learning really fast to control just how many buttons you are pressing. It also has some weird moving around things that you need a couple of minutes to get used to. But the problem with this is mostly the whole consistent kamikaze stuff going on. A good solution to a weird skill is to be done with it as quickly as possible. So me and my big old hammer just beeline it to Andariel. And while they say violence isn't a solution, it sure did solve my problem here. Having worked my way through the first bunch of skills, it is time for the first respec. For today's second course we are going with 2 spirits and the Stone of Jordan for our mentionable gear. As the most generic caster gear on the planet, these of course go well with spells. But that would be a good strategy that will work without any trouble. And we can't have that. We haven't hit our suffering quota yet. So instead we are doing a weird hybrid melee thing with the 3 holy auras, earth, wind and fire. No wait, that's lightning, cold and fire. I mentioned earlier that I had a cool idea that didn't involve a hexfire for the holy fire part of this run. That's because for Act 2 Nightmare I am going with Holy Fire, and as my weapon I am using the Kuko Shakaku I found on one of the earlier runs. So for one act I am going to be a build called a Bow Paladin, also known as a Ranger. This build works by building on the synergy between Exploding Arrow and Holy Fire. I can sound all complicated and stuff, but just watch the screen and you'll be able to see that things are dying at a very acceptable rate. Nothing is really standing in the way of this Paladin. I mean, he is basically a walking cannon at this point. Now I would love to just spend a few minutes talking about how hard it is to just annihilate anything that comes in my way, but it isn't. So after working my way through everything in the act, I take a few more shots at Duriel. And that is the end of that. Farewell, good build. I will miss you. Most of the auras the Paladin has are pretty good, and our next skill is as well. In Hell, almost the entirety of Act 3 is lightning immune, so I figured it would be fitting to do Act 3 Nightmare with Holy Shock. This aura deals lightning damage every few seconds, and while it isn't the most consistent thing of the planet, if your RNG can just hit high enough, it will average out to be plenty to deal with most of the things you encounter. Meaning that with this aura dealing 1 to 352 damage, it will average to about 176.5, which is plenty to deal a bit of a sting to any enemy. And while sting was very cool in Lord of the Rings, we will need a bit more damage, so I'm using the big damage that comes with actually swinging a sword. While doing a lot of letting nature taking its course when you hold a sword with 1000 damage, I ended up finding a poison and bone skiller in the spider cavern. The rest of the jungle was spent very thoroughly clearing every single enemy I encountered, which brought me to the ruined temple. On my way to pick up the book of stats, a rare ring dropped. This turned out to be a 40 mana, 26 lightning and 29 fire resist ring. Even with all the rings I have available from all the quests, this thing is solid, so I'll gladly equip it. The Mephisto fight was just me standing there whacking him with the sparks flying, and upon his defeat it was time to head into Act 4. Keeping on with the skill selection in a way I think is fitting, I decided that today would be the day that hell would freeze over thanks to Holy Freeze. Holy Freeze is the aura Duriel has, so I know everyone has seen it before, but let's go over it shortly anyway. This aura adds cold damage to your attacks and gives the chill effect, which is what is slowing you down so much when Duriel is near you. The cold damage on the aura is why thawing potions work against him. The chill effect is why you are still going blue and getting slowed. Let's get back to Act 4 though. I decided that with hell frozen over, it would be a great time to go for a walk in the Plains of Despair. But even with the heat turned down, it is still awful here. Just souls, souls and nothing but souls. So let's deal with Isual and get the fuck out of here. Between the chill and the cold damage, I'm pretty much unkillable. So after giving Hephasto the cold shoulder, I get to claim my spoils of war and move on towards the Chaos Sanctuary. A little trick you can do in there is to stand in the small sides of the pentagram to make sure you won't get surrounded. After luring everything back to here and allowing themselves to get picked up like nice little demons and undead, I found myself with only one boss pack to go. And for the first time this run, I won't have to pretend things got close, because they actually did. The Venom Lord stormed at me, and despite my massive aura farming, I went down for the count while trying to run to safety. My safety town portal was on the other side of the sanctuary, which means that I could let Asab take the wheel and pick them off one by one. Against Diablo, it was painfully obvious why you should be a caster instead of a melee character if you want to play something good. Most of my hits are just a swing and a miss. But after about a minute of trying to chip away at him, it turns out that a lot of sometimes hitting a monster a little bit is still enough, and I get to move on towards Act 5. For Act 5 Nightmare, we are going to be the Knight and Batman, cause we are going vengeance. Now I would have loved to put a Batman themed song here in the video, but the last time I did that the YouTube gods were quite a bit beyond slightly miffed, so instead I am just going to work my way through explaining what vengeance does instead. Vengeance adds a percentage of elemental damage for each of the elements based on the weapon's base damage, which means it does count on weapon enhanced damage, min and max damage on other gear and min max damage charms. What it doesn't count is off weapon enhanced damage from things like strength or might. It doesn't count damage plus X damage like for instance a grief has, meaning that this might be the best build in the game for you if you grief. A few other things that unfortunately don't work either are Deadly Strike, Open Wounds and Crushing Blow. The advantage of this skill is that you get to always deal damage because you're hitting for all the elements in the known universe. The disadvantage is that you can't really leech life and all the good melee mods are disabled. You are still very much a melee build though. I did a full video with Vengeance years ago at this point, and I can say that while it is a very interesting build to play, it is not a very strong one, which is why I decided to get it out of the way on one of the easier parts of the game. For my aura I am going with Conviction, which lowers enemy resistances and defense. Weapon wise I decided to stick with my trusty steel driver for this. Having a big hammer tends to solve a lot of problems after all. Resistance and damage wise things are looking good. Everything is well into the high positives and the damage is hitting 4 numbers. This makes it so that despite my bad chance to hit things, when I do hit them, they spontaneously combust out of existence. All of those things are well and good. There is a problem though, my life total is not doing too hot. 550 life in Nightmare Act 5 on a shieldless Paladin. To the surprise of exactly no one turns out to be a problem. So there are some minor issues while making it through the bloody foothills. Who could have guessed it was my blood that gave it that name? To help with this, I decided to equip a bulwark. This new rune word is made with Shale IO and Soul, and for that very low price you get faster hit recovery, life leech, vitality, 30 life replenish, 7 damage reduction and a bear rune and some change worth of physical damage reduction. Seems like a good deal to me. I'm also switching back to the string of ears I used before. I still had the razor tail on for the piercing. But I haven't been using a bow in a few acts, so that was doing nothing for me at all. You can tell I only research things afterwards and just head in and play when I have an idea, cause not for the first time I decide to equip an item that doesn't work with a build at all. The Flesh Render has Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike and Open Wounds, the trifecta of fantastic mods that don't work with Vengeance. If you are taking away only one thing from watching these videos, please let it be. Do as I say, not as I do, cause I fuck up all the time, and that's okay. It is just for the Eldritch grind though, cause after that it is time to introduce a new weapon I haven't used yet during this series. I've made a Crescent Moon in a Phase Blade. This weapon has Chain Lightning and Static Field on striking, which is just amazing for crowd control and killing speed. It also solves my problem with hitting things thanks to its ignore targets defense. I know Conviction helps here as well, but the kicker here is the minus 35% to enemy lightning resistance. Monster resistance in this game works the same as it does for players. So if a monster has 100 lightning resistance, attacking with this makes it so that they 65% instead. There are a few other mods here, but they don't really matter. I do want to point out that this has level 18 Summon Spirit Wolf, which is what makes this one of the weapons you can use if you want to turn every class into a summoner. The gear improvements immediately show their worth in the Frozen River, where instead of just taking a snooze against random enemies, I am pulling up and clobbering them. The ancients are, well, ancient, so just like us gamers they don't have phones, resulting in no close calls at all during the fight against them. And as usual, Pale was easy. Boss fights in this game are just kind of sad once you're out of normal, more like a small bump in the road than an actual fight. This does mean that we are really trekking towards the end here. We started 6 videos ago with 105 acts to do, and here we are, 100 acts cleared, just 5 more to go. So let's get to it, time to dive into hell. With just a few more acts to go, I only have a few more skills to work with. For Act 1 I am going with Thorns. This aura has you playing as a pacifist, which is much harder than you would think. My Thorns only run was one of the hardest runs I ever did in the whole game. The big problem there was Lord Desays, but he lives in Act 4. Our first Hell Act doesn't have any problems. And even better, you need to defeat only one enemy in here, so let's go do that. The road there is filled with lots of angry ladies trying to end me. There is only one lady for me though, and she is waiting at the end of this long jog. Or should I say, the second of these jogs. The first one didn't quite go as smooth as I had hoped. Back at it again, I decided that I should at least try to pretend to care about Cain. So I recovered the scroll from the tree, followed that up by making a little trek towards the outer cloister waypoint, and touching some stones while making a mess of things before saving Deckard Cain. I still think it's funny that you can do most of the quests in this game without killing a single enemy. People are always asking for full clears and stuff, but you really don't need to. You'll end up fine if you bother with as much as 5% of the enemies in the game instead of all of them. Akara's ring wasn't worth it at all, but that was to be expected. I'm kind of glad even. I'm sure it means that she is saving the good stuff for my next runs. What is copium, you ask? I don't know, I've never heard of it. Trying to deal with even a single lady turns out to be a much bigger ask than I would have wanted. The catacombs level 4 are filled with fanaticism cursed monsters. And even though I've gotten myself a bigger health pool, it is still not enough. A series of unfortunate events later, I find myself resorting back to the old faithful tactic of letting Asap deal with my problems. Standing next to Andariel while drinking potions isn't a very hard to do thing at all, so I do that and move on towards Act 2. Before we head into the desert, it is time to do a respec. For the second to last character rebuild of the series, we are going with Holy Bolt, Blessed Hammer and Fist of the Heavens. For those keeping track, yes, that is 3 skills for 4 acts. Don't worry though, there is exactly 1 skill left after these. It's almost like I planned it out or something. With the melee nonsense being done for now and us able to play a build that I thought would be good, it is time to get disappointed in Blessed Hammer. We all know it, we all have an opinion about it, but Blessed Hammer and the iconic Hammerdin it creates is one of the best builds in the game. It is even so iconic that it has made its way into many other games like Path of Exile and Last Epoch. So what you and I both expected was to just stomp the absolute fuck out of Act 2 and move on with our lives. That is not what ended up happening. Instead, it turns out that if you don't put points in the synergies and don't max your concentration aura, things are much more dire. Well, as dire as a Hammerdin will ever get, it is still a Hammerdin after all. I was expecting to just clown on this act. Instead, I ended up with what felt like a well-balanced build, lacking all the usual overpoweredness the hammers normally sport. Instead of just flexing on the game, I find myself just playing the game. Look, it's still a Hammerdin, they only get so bad. But at this power level it felt like a fun and entertaining build to play. I still worked my way through the maggot lair in a few minutes. Cause all you need to do here is to just walk up to an enemy and always go right. But that's just the way that goes. What I'm trying to say is, this felt appropriate. Power level wise it was nowhere near 9000. I do have relatively good gear compared to the complete garbage I usually work with, and I'm playing a caster after all. But I'm still not wrecking everything in one hit. With all of those factors, this ended up being a very enjoyable act to play through. It's still a Hammerdin though. It's not like we are at melee power levels or anything that dire. So one angry bug demon later, it is time to head into Act 3. Here I think I might have messed up. I was so scared of not everything being a demon or undead that I decided to go with Fist of the Heavens to have access to the lightning damage attached to it. My plan worked. In the spider cavern I was able to deal with the spiders thanks to the lightning damage I just mentioned. The other damage doesn't work against things that aren't undead or demons. The problem with this plan however is that I don't get to use Fist of the Heavens in Act 4, where it would shine. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but Fist of the Heavens might actually be better in the Chaos Sanctuary than a Hammerdin, and I would have loved to show that off. Another problem comes in the form of the winged nightmares in the Flayer jungle. These angry green chickens are no undead or demons, and they are lightning immune as well, which means I can't deal any damage to them. That doesn't make them dangerous or anything, it just feels terrible to have two types of damage and to still not be able to deal damage to a certain group of enemies. Almost joined Akara in the philosophy of saving the good rings for the next run by the way. The rest of the act went about as smooth as you can expect considering just how much I am gimping myself throughout this series. The bats in the sewers level 1 aren't lightning immune, so they joined the Eternal Night. They weren't vengeance after all. Half of the council members in Travinkel are lightning immune, so my lightning damage gets negated. They aren't immune to the other half of my damage though. It takes a few swirls around the area, but down they go and we claim the final piece of the flail, allowing us to make our way into the Durance of Hate and the Mephisto fight. The best part here was that everybody's favorite loot generator ended up dropping a pile of uniques. None of them are getting used, but seeing this many golden items drop never gets old. It's also the second Jalals in the series, which I thought was pretty neat. 2 more to go, and I just realized I haven't done a video on either of them. I should get on that right after the million other videos I still want to do. Anyway, in Act 4 I am going with Holy Bolt. This is a fast shooting projectile that only deals damage to demons and the undead, which means everything, everyone and their grandmother in Act 4. It's dealing about 3500 damage on average. So does anyone want a thorough explanation here, or will a quick montage of a bunch of things getting just obliterated suffice? I mean, I can be all like, this monster did this, I went and did that, this happened, that happened, but I was really just shooting thousands of damage per second at anything that moved and laughing at their corpses like a good holy man. After a very close fight, that wasn't a total obliteration at all. Iswald did end up dropping a unique jewel. It turned out to be a 4/4 dye facet with a sapphire as its base color. A pretty sweet one. It's sad I don't get to use it cause I'm all out of fire skills. Dealing with Hepasto was a matter of making the demon take a swing at me, then using the distance to throw a few bolts. After a couple seconds of this I got bored of playing safe and decided to just mainline full rejuvenation potions while face tanking him and hoping for the best, which ended up working. It was never close. To round things out we get one final disappointing Hellforge drop. Then the Chaos Sanctuary. Not much to talk about here, so I just started blasting. It didn't even matter if it was regular monsters or the boss packs that spawned from the seals, all of it just got leveled in a matter of seconds. To keep up with the trend of finding crazy rare items this series, I did end up finding a high-end unique in the form of a unique Hyperion Spear from Lord Desays or one of his minions. I don't know who dropped it, they all look the same in a blender. This is Ariok's needle. It can roll up to +4 to all skills, so we did poorly on that with the +2. But I can't be sad about it, cause I've never in my life seen anyone use this item at all. Like seriously, what build wants or even uses this? Even among the unique spears, there are so many better options that I would take over this in a heartbeat. Am I just missing something, or is this as useless as I think? At the end of all of this, Diablo shows up as well. The entire fight with him lasts 12 seconds, an eternity if you ask me, but your opinion may differ. With that out of the way, it is time for one more skill, one more act and one more Diablo fight. I still have a Stone of Jordan after all. Before getting into the final act, it is time for the final respec of the series. I'm sure a lot of you already guessed or figured it out from the opening shots of the video. But the final skill in this series is going to be Smite. Gotta save the best for last and all. While the respec is going on, I just want to thank everyone that has been here throughout the series. It was the first time I did a bigger project like this for the channel, and I've gotta say I am blown away by how wonderful and enthusiastic the response to this has been. Thank you all so much for being here for the whole journey. We aren't quite done yet though. Smite is a skill that has you bashing your shield into an enemy. Not a lot of explaining to do on this one. You have a shield, they have a face, the story tells itself. One thing people always see as a downside to this skill is that it has knockback, but I kind of like it cause it gives you some crowd control and prevents you from getting surrounded. It also makes me happy to see monsters getting bounced around. I find it very satisfying. And if you really can't stand the knockback, you can just pin them in a corner and stun lock them to death, which is crazy strong as well. I mean, just look at all of them being laughably easy here. During the Ancients fight, I tried to split them up for a while, almost costing me the fight a few times, but my low running speed prevented me from doing this. So in the end, I decided to just go stand in a corner to prevent Talek from whirlwinding me and going for the good old face tank and just damage raise them. It got close a few times, but I did end up making it through. Now this is the part of the video where I would be all like the Worldstone Keep was extremely difficult and I had lots of problems and it was a nightmare and a disaster. But I am playing a pretty decked out Smite Paladin, so I just stun locked things until they weren't things anymore. This even works on all the Bale waves, not even Lister the Tormentor and his friends can get out from under this. And Bale, well, what is there even to say, except no, he didn't stand a chance. So there you have it. The actual run itself is done, but I don't want to finish on a whimper. So I decided to sell the Stone of Jordan I found all that time ago to Larzuk. I'm sure almost everyone watching knows this, but I'll explain anyway. A couple extra fights have been added to the game over the years. One of them is the Diablo clone fight. This has you fighting a beefed up version of the titular boss of the series. To unlock him, you sell the Stone of Jordan like I just did. And to find him, you need to go look for super uniques. He replaces the first super unique pack you encounter. A good one to do this with is the Eldritch the Overseer location, so that if something goes wrong, you are right next to the waypoint and get to fight on. The fight itself has a meteor storm going on for its duration, but for the rest is the same as the normal Diablo fight. Upon his demise, the Diablo clone always drops the same item, a unique small charm. This is the Annihilus. It always has +1 to all skills and it gets 10 to 20 resist all, 10 to 20 to all stats and 5 to 10 experience gained. With that in mind, let's see how we did. Turns out we did very well. We got the obligatory +1 to all skills of course, you can't whiff on that. We rolled a natural 20 on the stats, 12 out of 20 on the resistances, which isn't great, but we also got a perfect 10 rolled on the experience gained. So there we have it. We've done all classes with 15 different-ish skills, teaching us many new things about what is viable and what isn't. We've even done the Diablo clone fight and gotten a great roll on our small charm, which to me marks a great end to the series. Once again, thank you all for being here. A special thanks to the YouTube members and Patreons. Please don't forget to check if you're subscribed and I will see you all with something fresh in the next one.